Bravehearts, Urbanites, Coach Mad Hatters, Vineyard Creatrix, Crimson Velvet VIPs. I hadn't made that intro in a while. I kind of forgot. Oh, wow. Okay, so we are gathered here to talk about some stuff. And so I'm thinking that I'm going to leave this up here just for a few minutes before I begin my spiel, before I begin uh, unpacking this highly concentrated issue that has been in and out of my frequency for a while. I will start off with saying that in the very beginning, when the hunch, I'm just going to say it was a hunch, because it popped right in my mind and popped right out. And I think that it popped out relatively quickly because my initial feeling to it was not. It was no. It was there is no way that this could be for me. But then the interesting part is that it just kept, it felt like it was peekabooing me, like it was playing peekaboo with me. And each time that it showed up, it was almost like it was chipping away at my preconceived notions and my social conditioning and all of my trauma. It definitely started to rub my insecurities and all of the things that I had around trust and protection and so-called loyalty. And I say it that way because even in my contemplations of what my poly principles would look like, I had to confront and deal with my trust, insecurity, and jealousy issues. Now, what I will say that preceded this was me shifting paradigms around ownership and just being honest about how I really feel with legalized matrimony and how it somehow gives the impression that you own someone when in reality, across the board, you do not. But so many times, the I'll just say European frequency of matrimony, especially with melanated folks that try to participate in this box, what it does to one's expectations or illusions of entitlement around another person being present in your everyday frequency. Like the practical nitty gritty or the nuts and bolts of how we relate to one another, and even more deeper, how we relate to ourselves. And so what I knew for sure is that there was no way in the world I was going to be able to engage in anything poly without first repairing all of my relations with self. And so here we are. Here we are. And before I go any further, I'm going to lay a certain kind of foundation. Because in my honest opinion, anyone who's considering a poly relationship, as with everything else, it starts with self. From the inside out is how we ought to be dealing with one another and how we ought to be relating to one another. Uh, at the at the fundamental level, at the basics. No, you know what? I am such a below the surface type person, not an INFP for nothing. Okay, so below the surface, let's get to the roots. And I've been challenging folks because we love to do the uh, judging a tree by its fruits. That tree would have no fruit if it didn't have any roots. So it's even below the grass roots level. It's down. We're gonna get right down in the soil, right in the darkness, the richness of the darkness. It is not always evil or something you're supposed to be running from or scared of. It's you. It's a part of you. Your shadowy or valley frequency is still part of you. So I've been rocking with this book for a while, The Numinous. And it has an astro deck that comes along with it. And I guess you can see from all my tabs and stuff that I really have been rocking with this. I put my own tabs in all my books. I think I mentioned this before. I have a girlfriend. We've been girlfriends since 7th grade. She's really like a sister. She's not even a girlfriend anymore. She's a sister. And Trina cringes at anybody who write in their books. And I'm like, girl, you would lose your mind messing around with me because I write in everything. It's a textbook. Every time I get a textbook, it is class is in session. You hear me? I don't play around with my books. I don't play around with my knowledge. Whatever it is that I have put forth or my internal dialogue tells me that I need to be paying attention to, I need to be learning more, mastering, and that kind of thing. It all goes along with my relationship with myself. Even though, how can I say this? My my frequency for anyone that is on the outside looking in, because we've been socially conditioned to always look at the fruit of a person, you'll never know a person's roots unless they reveal them to you. And usually roots are not exposed, right? So only through intimate interaction are we even able to tap into the nutrients of a fruit of a rooting system. I tread lightly with having the impression that poly is only a sexual or sensual aspect of such relations, or even for it to be domesticated or trying to stuff into the paradigm of ownership or being in relationships that's going to coddle your insecurities. And for a long while, this poly relationship, or even the thought of a poly relationship, was so intimidating. And then I went through make sure I get this right. So, Rebecca Thompson International, and I'll leave the link in the description. She was offering a complimentary 31-day mindset makeover course. And I entered it my first day of that course was March 17th. So I figured it was my lucky gift to myself to, especially if I was able to complete it, which I was, um, 31 days straight. And it's amazing because every day a new message from her would pop up. So it was almost like, yeah, 31 days. It was almost like for 31 days straight, I was hearing from someone who was cheering me on and endorsing my relationship with myself. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy to hone in on the things that most often are scary and intimidating. But right from the beginning, she has you state what your intentions are, the reason why you would even be undergoing this course. What do you expect out of the course? And even with that small contemplation, that sparked me telling her right off the bat, just for the sake of accountability, I told her that I was in the midst of getting clear and seeing if I could become aligned with my poly aspirations. Since then, I have written 2 full chapters, and a few characters have even emerged as a result of me in this contemplation. I've been writing as an amateur since, I want to say 2011. Well, it was like the brink of spring. 2011 is when I became serious about becoming an established writer. But I kind of knew that I was going to be freelancing it because of the rules and the inflexibilities around professional writing, publishing. And I think that's going to be another story for another time. I'm not going to get into that right now. But because of that, my everyday journaling game, like every day, I am multiple times a day, all depending on what I'm writing or what I'm researching so that I can write about it. It gets logged into my daily planner, as well as me making mention of whatever it is that I am engaging and the result of that engagement. So that goes into and I need just a little bit of show and tell, just a little bit, because sometimes it gets misconstrued that the relationship with self is like the superficial relationships we have with others. It is not. So, and I know it might be unbelievable at some point, but and this is because they all go, oh, I'm dropping stuff. They all are housing different things. And so this here is because I am a tarot reader, but I do not read for entertainment. I have an entire tarot log. So when I consult my cards, I record them because of the messages that come through and speak to me. And I think I've mentioned this before. I don't usually read for others unless it's someone that I know, because it is my communication device. It's my smartphone with communicating with the non-physical. And I take that very seriously. So this here is such a delight because it is all of my poetry and the context that will connect my characters and allow me to keep up with this storyline that has become an epic adventure, which I have been working on for the last 7 years. But because I believe in 7-year cycles, and I can feel it, I feel the story culminating. I feel which portions of my story it's time to release into the public for sake of collaboration and things like that. So that's what this is for. Then I have this one, and let me tell you something. Sisters, sisters to me are the most prized possession anyone, male or female, can ever have. My big sister Reese, birthed through the same womb. My birth, what is it called? My biological sister Reese. She gifted me with this set, right? And so, and so inside of, I call this the divine trifecta. Honey, listen. The three, the mirrors in the shop, when you go to the dress shop or when you go to the suit shop, most often them real nice kind of boutique type of shops, they got a mirror that looks like this, don't they? When I view myself, I have to view myself in physical terms and non-physical terms. My non-physical terms is what has been the most colorful and truthful, reliable, my most transparent. And like I say, because I'm a writer and I'm obsessed with my journal keeping. And I'll tell you the reason why. So 1989. Yep, 1989, because I was due to graduate high school 1990. And at the time, I had no children and hadn't been married, but I was with the one that I would ultimately have children with and marry. So we are headed to Rinaldi's Bowling Alley. And I've told this story a couple times, once or twice, I think, on this channel, but I've written about it several times. And it's quite interesting how in my interpersonal relations, which means my relationships with other people versus my intrapersonal relationships, my relationship with myself. My interpersonal relationships, I don't speak often about it. Most often because it always feels like people are busy and they really don't remember anything about you unless it relates to them. So hmm, we were on our way to Rinaldi's Bowling Alley to catch up with some of my friends from high school. He had already been graduated. He's several years older than me, but because we are the same sun sign, which I think has a lot to do with it, in my opinion, cardinal Capricorns, and I think that was the link that made that thing work for the time that it was supposed to, all the way through the marriage. So we were on our way to the bowling alley, and a drunk driver. There is this weird intersection right there at the Pepsi Cola plant, Tuxedo Drive, and you can cross over the half of the ongoing. Is it 295, 395? I don't know. And been living here all my life, but it still confuses me. But however, so that little wicked crossover. Okay, well, this Bama was, when I say drunkety drunk, yeah, and I don't even know how he got to that point, but whatever. And so he's trying to cross over while we was coming this way. He's trying to cross over, but he missed it and swerved somehow. And now he's coming into ongoing traffic. So he's coming this way, we coming this way. And from a distance, it just looks like he was just kind of taking his time to cross over. So CJ slows up a little bit, but it was still too late because he was still coming towards us. And when we realized what was actually going on, it was too late. Bam. So this was before seatbelts was a mandate. The steering wheel kept him from really truly getting banged up, bust his lip. Thank God it didn't mess with none of his beautiful teeth and chest, and fucked his knee up real bad. I passenger seat, no seatbelt. All this was fucked up. I lost my memory. I lost my eyesight. It was weird for a long time. And even 6 months after the accident, his mother, registered nurse, was still pulling slivers. We was sure that this area was gonna be fucked up for the rest of my life. Take a look. And I can't to this day explain that. Just like, yeah, I can't explain it. And when I say it was all chewed up, and on the cover of my upcoming manuscript is the photo of me not the actual, but the indention in the windshield from where my forehead smacked it. And all of this, when it impacted, it grabbed all of this out. So I ain't had no hair right here, grabbed all of that out. And I mean, it's amazing. That's the physical recovery. The non-physical recovery has been a bit sketchy, which full circles back to the reason why, one of the reasons why I journal a lot, because sometimes I do lose gaps of time. And because folks believe from the outside looking in that I am so eloquent and brilliant, and not saying that I'm not, not saying that I'm not, but I'm just uh, cautious with the differentiations between how they see me and how I actually am. And it strikes people odd when I tell them I lose track of time. They believe because I live the non-employment life that I somehow, some way don't give a fuck about timing, or because I'm around here chilling all the time, that that's the reason why I lose track of time. Totally dismissing that massive, hideous ass frontal lobe trauma that I still deal with. Now, I might not forget your face, but I'll probably forget your name. And it's amazing how, still amazing. I think everything at this point is amazing because I was diagnosed with um, pretty much going to become a vegetable of some sort, probably like a walking vegetable, like the Walking Dead, probably. I think they were betting on, because, like I said, because of just the magnitude of all that went on with that collision, um, that I honestly was not going to have any sensibility or by 50. So I became obsessive with repetition and a whole bunch of reading and writing and all of that kind of stuff to try to offset it, because they scared the fuck out of me when I was 17 years old. They scared me with this whole, you're not going to be able to do anything with yourself by the time by the time you get middle age. I was like, okay, okay, okay. So I am an avid journaler, which has done me quite a bit of good. But I will say that there was no way that I would have been able to capture all that I had there been unnecessary distractions or me dibbling, dabbling, and all this dating fuckery. Me personally, I don't particularly believe in dating. I honestly believe in my frequency drawing to me those that I am supposed to have relations with. All of that smorgasbord type of shit, that stuff really does. It confuses me. I don't need all of that. I believe in energetic frequency. I believe that if no one has crossed your path, they're not supposed to at the moment. I do believe also that those that do cross your path might not be inside the realm of your expectations, but they're there for a reason. And it does not dictate origination date or expiration date. We don't know when they walking in or when they walking out, or how they walking in or how they walking out. Just don't know. Because quite honestly, in all my turmoil, I thought I was going to be married all my life. But one thing I do know for certain, two things for sure, that had I not gotten and stepped into my singleton, I would not be, and this is no shade to my marriage, because my marriage gave me all sorts of security and validation and intimate frequency. But as I was becoming another version of moi, I wouldn't have been. I just wouldn't have been. I don't think that I would have. And let me just note this. My North Node is in Aquarius. 5 degrees. So it was always going to, in my opinion, because I believe in destiny, I believe in sacred synchronicity, I believe in serendipity, I believe in divine trifecta, story, art, acoustic alchemy. I believe in these things. I believe in music meditation. I believe in movement meditation. I believe in the mystics. And I know right now there are certain pockets of people who are debating around the word mystic and what it means to whomever. I believe in the unseen. I believe in the invisible. I am a Jungian of sorts, and that doesn't mean that I believe in everything that Carl Jung has had said. Do not. And I say this to many people quite often. I don't even agree with me 100% of the time. So when I do endorse someone or I make mention of a book or whatever have you, it does not mean everything's 100%. I have yet to see something 100%, whether yeah, well, whatever it is, especially when you're talking about this earthling experience. Everything comes in aspects, degrees, levels. And so this is what drives my contemplations around the authenticity of a poly relationship. Because like I say, it doesn't start with the attraction of someone else. Me personally, if the poly thing gonna work, and I'm just calling it a poly thing right now, because I do believe in the customization of your poly relationship, I don't think you should take the definition of what someone else's poly is and try to apply it to your life. Doesn't mean you don't listen or research or, and research means to go back and search. So not saying any of that, pull all your data, collect it all, but then I think the phase of how to make it work for you is the most important. The imperative part of that is to make sure that you are clear with you, check in with you. And in my opinion, for me personally, picking folks off of dating apps or trying to convince somebody that you're already with that has this thing with ownership or exclusivity or that kind of stuff. I was watching so I am a member of Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is a platform that was created by Jessica Halter, who is the creator of Punani Poets. When I joined this platform, it was mainly because of me tapping into my soul tribe around my poetry. And I just think Jessica Halter is one of the most free-spirited poets I've ever met. And she does not I was getting, and the reason why I'm pausing because I really wanted to say she gives no fucks about anybody who wants to shame her about her being who she is. And I was trying to clean it up, but nothing was coming. So I was just gonna say it like I thought it. But yeah, she does not. And that's not to say that she doesn't have her moments, but she's very clear on why she do whatever it is that she do, and she's very transparent in her art. And that's not the only thing that she does. So when you become a member, you are welcomed into her creative spaces. Now, as a coach, I am inside of the realm of creativity. So I'm considered a creativity coach, but I still lean more to the written word. I look at myself as a writing coach, always has, The coach part of it has been in my frequency for a long while. I still reminisce about my times as a beauty instructor. Those were the best, some of the best days of my life. I really truly enjoyed being around the up and coming hairstylists, barbers, estheticians, nail technicians, even some of the models and some of the neighborhood celebrities, for the sake of a better term, when they would come through to get all dolled up or get all groomed up for whatever it is that they were doing within the community, it was always a safe hub, a love hub of all sorts of stuff, let alone the folks that come in, selling little trinkets, or even the ones that'll come in with your incidentals and all your little private goodies. I'm telling you, anybody's liable to come through the shop selling whatever. I've always been in teaching modes. I've always been an instructor of sorts. Always, always, always. And I think my love for words and the structuring of them and how they are like chords of communication, and how it's all different, all depending on people, person, and thing, always been a fascinating thing to me. So when it came time for gathering my words or tapping into any wisdoms that I had with regards to relationships or chemistry, I would say chemistry more so than relatability. Um, because you really can be opposites and have the very best chemistry ever. And so it had gotten me out of thinking in terms of like mind when I am more so like heart. I look for folks that are like hearted. And that's all through chemistry. That's all through synergy. That's all through synchronicity. I believe in divine timing. So almost immediately inside of my mind, it will say, it's not time for that. Or it will say, it's perfect time for that. So I am very sensitive to timing and the time that it may take something to mature. Honestly, I believe that is the seeding to poly relationships. I honestly do not believe that the core of poly has anything to do with sexual relations. I think it's an aspect, and I think it's a very core aspect, but I do not honestly believe that it's mandatory. So inside of my stories, there's been this very delicate tendency that's been immersion that's called a muse matrimony. So in the physical world, in the municipal world, in the domestic way we do things, there are other ways to marry. You do not have to go to the courthouse and be legalized. There are other ways to solidify your union. From researching that is, I believe, how this thing called muse, like the muses, M-U-S-E, muse matrimony, is how this is morphing. So it feels transitional. It feels very present day. And especially because I am considered the Pluto generation in Libra, also considered Generation X. So with all that I've just said, which was purposely done, all the nougans that I've just relayed with regards to my human interaction with my celestial self, and all that I've gathered as a result of, and being very clear about me, then that gives me something to focus on. I also, let me throw this in it. I personally believe that those who are single ought not be actively looking for anyone. I think they should be looking for themselves. That's what I believe. So all of this, all of the talk that situates one mind around, I want a person at this and this and this and this, and I want them to do this, and I want them to be this, I want them to have this. I think that is the interpersonal side, the outside of the situation. When considering how one will relate, I personally believe that when, if and when those considering a poly relationship begin to actively be pursuing, it should be all energetic and it should all come from the inside out. It should all come from a place of self-discovery. Temetnos. That is the catchphrase, I'm just going to call the terminology that was above the oracle's doorway when she had her first conversation with Neo. And remember, symbolically or even terminologically, is that a word? Neo stands for one, right? So she's like, I can't tell you the one if you don't already know this. So I truly believe that poly relationships are not going to work for those that don't already know it. And I think that the preliminary contemplations around that deserves your attention before you go out and start looking for anyone. And sometimes that takes time. Sometimes the unbuilding and the rebuilding takes more time than the actual uh, occupation of whatever it is that you're building. And so with that, I'm going to share this story by Nalini Singh. Let me just, because I have to I gotta concentrate on how to spell her name. So let me just screen share so that you can see what I'm talking about and I can continue to talk, right? Okay. So let's see if we can do that. Right. So Nalini Singh. I've been rocking with Nalini probably about 3 years now. My audiobook game is quite a prize. And that is because I am now waving, once again, let me say this, I'm once again waving the banner for adult bedtime stories. Now, it does not have to be romance. I'm a romantic at heart, so I give my heart what it wants. And what I love is a well-written romantic story, especially if it has erotica in it, but not that sleazy shit. And so Nalini is very creative about the way she uses her words to speak about her erotic happenstances. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. There are many, and as a matter of fact, and I have any Nalini Singh audiobook that has been uplifted to the cyberspace settings, I have tapped into it. This one is a good one. Declaration of Courtship, Visions of Heart, that's really good. Mind to Possess is really, really good. Heart of Obsidian was kind of hard only because the masculine main character was, yeah, he was scary, but he still found love, honey. And yeah. Yeah, Sahara, yeah, she softened that heart up real quick. And the interesting also part about it is all of the characters are synchronized within each book. And you see how long these books are. So these aren't any punk ass stories. No, these are elaborate stories. Nalini Singh also has a different genre. It's still romantic, but it is slightly different. Branded by Fire is really good. Hostage to Pleasure is good, but it made it a little scary for me just because I that whole hostage thing, yeah, that is just ridiculousness. But it was still a really, really, really good story. This one here, Alpha Night, this is a more newer one, and that's an awesome story too. When I say awesome, I mean awesome. But I chose to highlight Slave to Sensation because it gets into the non-physical aspects of chemistry between those that love one another. And I'm talking about that true, authentic shit. No games play. And so I haven't come across another author that has had the ability to hash out could go on between what could go on energetically between folks who honestly harmonize energetic frequencies and trust. And these characters do not come already well equipped, already uh, neatly packaged, if you will. No, they are insecure with some things. They are doubtful with other things. They are non-trusting. They are they are broken. They are voided of so many things. Some of them are outcasts. Some of them have been ostracized. Some of them, their character have been assassinated. Some of them are on roads to redemption. Like it's an incredible thing going on inside of this world Nalini Singh has built. I believe, to me, she's like the J.K. Rowling, the creator of Harry Potter. She's like that inside of the erotica world. But she also deals with mysticism and changelings and shapeshifters. The baseline, it really is the a person's animal spirit frequency and how they reconcile as humans and how they relate. So, yeah. And so that will, this is what I'm using as my seeding to this garden that I am about to begin publicly sharing in terms of my personal thoughts and investigations and just how I am intellectually and emotionally reconciling the things that I am intimately into or involved in or emotionally invested in. Truly, truly, mhm, yeah, truly, truly, that which I am at my core, unapologetically. Um, because we can get caught up in wanting to be that which others say we are, totally dismissing that which we say we are. Mainly because you just have to always be in conflict with folk to get it right. And they will swear they know you. When, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we are always in Congress with self. We are always changing or reconciling. And quite often I say, I might have been in the mode of yes yesterday, and now I'm in the mode of no today. Same fucking topic, same back channel. I've thought about some stuff. And yeah, because I have enlisted to take more stock in elemental behaviors, elementals being earth, fire, water, air, ether. Fifth element is very important. What it is that you see when you consider your being inside of the ether, non-physically. How do you view yourself without this body? Because remember, this body belongs to this realm. But you don't necessarily need to have the body to experience the realm, but you need to have the body to experience the physicality of this realm so that you can touch, taste, smell. What's the others? See, not really see. Okay, real quick. So I have this series coming out, and it's part of the poly frequency. that is talking about this thing with how we speak and the power of how we situate our words and how we define the world we are envisioning, right? Let alone how someone else is envisioning, and if that actually is in chemistry, if it's in Congress with yours, right? By heart. I've always been a by heart person. You're going to speak it by heart. You're going to recall it by heart. You're going to fight by heart. You're going to defend by heart. Whatever it is, in my personal opinion, should lead with the heart and then travel to the mind. We'll get into that another time too. But the whole notion about the first eye versus the third eye, and I've recently completed a piece, so that'll be posted up soon, about how I honestly feel about it, but it's speaking through one of the characters that I am now developing. And it has been a privilege to get to know her. When she first emerged, I was in awe just by her name. And the amazing part about it is when I write about characters, they pop up in my head. They literally say, "Hello, Thea." You know, to the point now where it's like, I'm like, nice to meet you. Because where they send me to research things, to write about things. And so her portion of the greater narrative has been unfolding in the last 90 days, and it has been a true honor to get to write for this non-physical being that sits with me. I often think about Ida B. Wells, and I often think about Toni Morrison and Alice Walker and Bell Hooks. And I know I'm forgetting. You know, I think I'm going to I'm going to do an exclusive segment where I'm just going to call out all the names of the women that I absolutely adore. I might do it for the fellas too, but I think first and foremost, we're gonna tap into Big Mama. And I don't mean Big Mama meaning that she was a biological mother. No, I'm talking about, her maternal frequency is on fleet. My sister Reese and my stepmom Helen, they gonna talk, and my mom, tell you the truth, and my grandmothers, yeah, and my great auntie, and my cousins, yeah, and my daughter and my sisters. And my girlfriends and my sister girls, and yeah, my students and my scholars, my clients, my clients. So there's this big mama frequency that comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes, ebbs and flows, frequencies and fashions. It's there, honey. If you looking for it, it's right there, and you don't have to look far. All in terms of the momentum that I am gathering to dispel this anti-yin culture. So all of that to say that there is this debate that's going on around first eye versus third eye. And I'm just gonna end it here with, here's my take. If you're living from the inside out, that means you're living from the non-physical celestial into the physical, the earthling. If you can wrap your mind and heart, or let it wrap itself around your mind and your heart, around how you communicate with regards to it, then it's not going to make sense to continue to call it the first eye. Your first eye is the third eye. Your first eye is your non-physical eye. And then these two eyes is the second and third eye. Your first eye, your first self. Your first self is your celestial self. And like I say, I am already, the reason why I speak this way is because I already put out the intentions that I'm only speaking to those that are within my heart frequency. And when you're inside heart frequency, you don't have to agree. And it's not even mandatory that you agree. Disagreeing is not a game changer. It's actually a opportunity to be intrigued. So with that being said, that's where we're going to go with this. And so I think I've dropped enough seedlings inside of this fertile soil that will give indication of why I am, what I am, where I am, who I am, and whom I am with, and all the wonders of. So, yeah, I will be doing a follow up to this soon. I'm not sure when, but soon. Um, but like I said, I believe I've left enough. I've dropped enough to get the party started. Ah, okay. So I'm definitely going to end with this because it was 3 books that I had to give high recommendations to that will help along the way when we're talking about the paths and the journeys of self-discovery. So the Numinous, and like I said, it comes with the deck. So it has an astro deck. And it talks about the astro deck talks about the signs, the planet, the houses, and the aspects. And so if you are one that's truly interested in investing more in getting to know yourself astrologically, I think this is almost like kindergarten through 6th grade. And that's not, those were some hard fucking years if you really think about it. You were being um, fundamentally conditioned to the things that you would need to know as you moved into your other tiers of learning. This right here will just make you think differently about yourself, period. And the interesting part about it is it ain't fluffy. It's not full of fluff. It's not full of fluff. I mean, it's not a hard read either. It really isn't. And there's an audio book. There's an audio book posted on YouTube, and it is the actual author who's reading her own content. So she's not missing a beat with the tones and none of that. And it's a beautiful thing. I want to say on several occasions, this thing saved my life. It helped me recoup my badassery. It really did. And this is my classic, and I think will forever be my classic for as long as I live. And not because of me taking word for word from it, but because it is just the greatest thing it's the greatest textbook ever, in my opinion. And I know that's probably like, so many books have been written, so many authors, so many concepts, so much content. How can you say? Because I was introduced to this book at the beginning of my professional career as a customer service representative. I really think that they should bring this back. So there was a time inside of nonprofit organizations where this was the go-to, honey. They were, listen, organizations was paying for this, was part of the professional development. They actually had true course curriculum and summits and seminars and workshops around Stephen Covey's concepts of how to be highly effective. It shaped me, it cultivated me. And so I still, as you can see, yeah, I still refer a lot now. So just for the sake of continuity and clarity, let's just go. And this will be a perfect closing. So inside in the let's just before I in the overview. In the overview, there is this story about the goose and the golden egg. And the way Covey synchronizes it into his presentation about what it is he's about to present to you, it solidifies nicely. So the 7 habits. Habit number one, be proactive. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit number 3, put first things first. Habit number 4, think win-win. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit number 6, synergize. Habit number 7, sharpen the saw. So as I said right before I began this unfoldment, that who I am as a individual earthling in regards to the whole tree fruit thing is very, very, very misleading if I am to consider myself as a whole and what my intra-personal existence is like, the quality of that. And who's doing the telling? Am I telling you about me from the inside out? Or are you trying to tell me about me from the outside in? Very, very, very important to analyze and contemplate, especially when you're at the brink or at the threshold of a poly relations. We are building tribe, in my opinion. It takes a village, in my opinion, which means you can have a muse matrimony with someone that you are not having sex with. That's the level of poly that I am contemplating and looking for, because it really is all about the joint efforts of economics, about the joint efforts of education. And education is not always public, okay? It's not. And there are many aspects, just like tree branches, there are many aspects to learning as an individual. There's something called family education that only your family can give you. I started waving that banner with my mom and how very little I knew about her, even though I was raised by her. And me and my sister was just talking, me and my sister Reese, we was just talking about this not even a week ago, and how we are, what we're individually doing to bring reconciliation to some of those tender spots. And that's not to say that you're going to always know, but in my opinion, it feels like the more the seedling, the more the godling knows about its biological parent, for one, the less they'll be embarrassed by them because they will have heard the story firsthand. But then it also gives the parent a bit of closure around all of the things that it may have done that could be potentially embarrassing to its offspring. But to reconcile it with the offspring, to me, seems more important than, it's a given, reconciling it with yourself first, and then reconciling it with your offspring. Because trust me, the stories were wrong. And every time it gets a degree further from the source, meaning the story about you gets further away in degrees, the more it becomes, I want to say misconstrued, but not always, but it does fluctuate. Like the flavor changes, the more mouths it, yeah, I don't know what else is, like I want to say the more the flavor changes, the more hands it, but not necessarily because you're not telling the story. You are to, I speak with my hands, but my words are mixing, so I know it's time to go. So didn't I say how many times I said I was gonna close this out? I got one more thing. Where's it at? Why is it gone? Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this because it's not letting me. Oh, wait. There we go. Okay, so let's go back here and see. Let's do this. So inside of Zoom, they have this new thing that they launching called whiteboards. And so there's a template in there called Rosebud Thorn. As a creativity coach, now I'm not a lifestyle coach, but I have reached out to one, and I am hoping that we can have a conversation relatively soon because he is pro poly. And so I am eager to even find out what he thinks about this, because what I'm going to start asking folks, um, the more and more I speak about it, so I'll be coming across folks or however it's going to go with considering poly in these three rosebud thorn concepts. So something good which recently happened with regards to your poly, whether it's in relation to self or someone else. That's the standard. Whether it's in relation to self or someone else, something you're looking forward to, and something you're worried or anxious about. And I think that each square indicates a different aspect of that one thing. And so you don't have to fill them all up, even if you fill out one box per category. Um, and then make this an ongoing project, a work in progress. That each time something comes up or you're sensing something, and if it falls into any of these three categories, jot it down and keep track. I would even go as far as to say that each time you write something in a block, date it and time it, so that you can begin to visualize your evolution of your poly principles or your poly relationships, or just poly by heart, meaning that you don't necessarily have to be involved, but you can be an ambassador or an ally or an associate of, because we are all in Congress with the way we relate and synergize. So even, loved ones of those engaged in poly relations, this will also help because we are in a learning curve with how to become less judgmental and more supportive with folks being individually who they are. Because what I've noticed that some folks won't reach their evolution all because they are worried about what someone else that they love very dearly feels about them. That is stifling growth and arresting development all over the fucking place. So there we are for real. So now I am closing this out. It has truly been a pleasure. Um, and I know there were a few things that I already said that I was in progress of uploading. So um, slowly but surely, I will be ebbing and flowing into the posting and uploading, and then there is no routine to this. We honestly are going about it how we feel. You'll know the truth by the way that it feels. And so, yeah, we're gonna harmonize this thing. And how I feel is how I'll post. Making no promises beyond that. So yeah, until next time, I wish you well.